Hi, I'm Paul with Madcap Software, and we have made it to the last video in our series on print-based output from Madcap Flare. And so this is where we see the benefit, the payoff for all the work that we put in all the videos leading up till now. We've built our foundation. We've got things looking the way that we want it. But now we're going to really get into what Flare, is especially good at, which is content reuse, because you might have lots of PDFs. I've got dozens and dozens and dozens of PDFs, and I don't want to have to redo all the things that you saw throughout this video series every time I want to do a PDF. So we've done the work. So now we're going to be able to go back into our project. We'll have some more files, content files, and we'll add some, and we're going to just quickly churn out some new PDFs that have the look, the feel, the features that we've been working on up till now. All right, let's get started. Back in our Flare project, you'll notice over in the Content Explorer, I've added some more folders because I wanted to get more content in here, some sample content. And so I just named these folders Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, with the idea that each one of these will become its own PDF. Whereas the things we had up here in these folders, that is our getting started PDF. I did cheat in here though, because all I did was copy these same top 3 folders into each one of these, because I didn't want to go create a whole bunch of brand new content. But the idea is still the same. So you might have, tons and tons of different content files in your Content Explorer, and some PDFs that are going to have, they're going to be really long, and some that might be short. So this is just an example. Yours, of course, could be way, it probably will be way bigger than this, and the content is going to be different than what you had up here. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Now we want to start with our Outline TOC file. And up till now, we've got this get started PDF one. There's our online one. There's that test one that I was just showing you something earlier. And so we want to make use of the same elements that are in here that we added to create this PDF. What you're able to do here is, because we've gone through the trouble of making these nodes right in here, the start of chapters, point to a specific topic, our chapter number topic, where we've got that auto number on it right there. Because we've done that and we already have our settings in place, what you can actually do is you can create your own template that has the pieces that every PDF wants, that you want every PDF to have. And then you can just work from that. So I'm going to make a copy of this Outline TOC, and I'm going to name this template, maybe even just make it all caps, so that that one is special and don't delete it. And I'm going to open that thing up, and we go through. We want the title, the copyright, the TOC, chapter 1 to be the same. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Appendix, well, it depends. Do you want lots of PDFs to have an appendix? If so, you would leave that in your Outline TOC, but maybe get rid of the content under it, unless the content under it is going to be an appendix that's in every PDF, in which case you would keep it. Index, all right, you can keep it in there. Maybe when you create a new Outline TOC file based on based on your template, you might not want an index. That's okay. Just delete the thing and you won't have it. So now we have our template, and I'm going to quickly create some new Outline TOCs for modules 1, 2, and 3. So I will start out by creating a copy of this. And let's rename this one Module 1 and make a copy of that. It's, just got the same thing as the template. So now we can just call this Module 2. and copy, and module 3, like that. So now you're ready to start putting together your PDF for module 1, and you go up to into your Content Explorer. Well, what content is going to go in there? And we know, so yeah, what did we do in our getting started one? It was get started, and yeah, so we did this. That was the start of our chapter, and then we had basic steps like that. Move it over. What's new? Like that. Move it over, and then features. We did. So this was the start of our chapter, and this is topic that's within it, and so is that. Move it over, and so is that. And of course, your process is going to take longer because you're likely to have a lot more content and maybe even deeper levels in this. That's okay, but it's the idea of you being able to just quickly drag these things in underneath these nodes to create it, and we don't have to go back in and select change the settings on any of these nodes because it's already done. We didn't do it down, really in these content files. We did it on these nodes and on, these things, the front matter and the back matter, which we're going to reuse. Now, maybe in this one, you don't have a chapter 4. And so you get rid of that. You delete it. Or you get rid of the index. Or maybe you do have chapter 4 and you've got chapter 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, make a copy of this thing like that. And then you just rename them. They have the same settings. The one that you want to be unique is chapter 1, because that's where you're resetting the chapter number to 1. But these others are all exactly the same. And then you can just move them back like that. Okay. And then you would just slide in whatever content you have. And there, you've got it. So your outline TOC can be created that easily. I'm going to get rid of these extra ones in here. And let's say, so now I go into, module 2, and I do the same thing, except I would be dragging in, the things, the topics and stuff that are in module 2. And you might have topics that are in other folders that are shared, that go into multiple PDFs. That's okay. You're just using this to control what you want in any particular PDF. And so then you would do the same in module 3. Okay, I'm not going to go through and finish out modules 2 and 3 because I already took you through module 1. You get it. That's what you do to create these. I do want to just say that the real benefit here of having these chapter nodes pointing to our unique chapter number, if I didn't do that, if I had say my chapter auto number on an H1 and it was just in a regular topic like in here or procedures here, well, then I'd be dragging that in and I would be resetting. I'd have to open up the properties and go in here and set this stuff each time. It's just extra work that you don't need to do. One other thing I would do as I'm looking at this just now, did leave this appendix node in here. And if I don't have any content under it, I would make sure that that was gone. And I will just go and do the same in these other outline TOCs there. And now we're done with this section and we can just keep on moving to the next. So the outline TOC done, at least we did it for module 1. The next thing I want to talk about is conditions, because it is likely that you will have conditions dedicated to your PDFs. You might not, but let's assume that you do. Now, we already have some conditions here in our general condition tag set. including our sort of broad, generic online only, print only. Let's say that we want something, a condition tag set where we just list all of our PDFs and the conditions for each one. So I'm going to create a brand new condition tag set in here, and I'll just call it PDFs. It's already in here. All right, I am going to, I can just delete these placeholder conditions, or I can rename them. Let's go ahead and just rename them. So I got one called getting started. I'll just say getting started. And then, oops, module 1, module 2, and module 3. And you might want to change the colors on these so they're more, so that they're unique. Maybe you want them to be different from what you have in your general condition tag set. I mean, there's only, so many colors to go. There's a lot of colors, but I mean, greens might look alike, blues might look alike, blah, blah, blah. So we have one for each one of these. Now, as you add more PDFs, you'll probably want to add more conditions for each one if you decide to do that kind of thing. Now, these conditions, you can apply them just to regular content. Some of your content might be topics that are only in that PDF. And so you wouldn't necessarily need to apply conditions that exclude other content from other PDFs. But you might have some shared information, like maybe our big freaking table topic, and you want some of that content to be in one PDF and some in another. Well, you would just open that up and you would apply the conditions like regular. I do find it useful to have separate conditions for each PDF that I create, but as well as the generic ones for online only and print only, because sometimes you'll have content. It's like, I definitely want this in all of my PDFs, or I definitely want to keep this content out of all of my PDFs. And so I find it useful to have these general conditions as well as these more narrow ones. One last thing, something I want to do related to these new conditions in here. Let's go look at our title page. You remember back to that, and I'm going to switch over here to print layout mode. You remember back when we set this up, we had created this content in here, this content that's supposed to be a product description or something, and we put it into a snippet. And the idea is that this content might change depending on the PDF that we generate. So I'm going to open this snippet, and right now it just has this text in it and our little horizontal rule. So maybe this content right here is appropriate for our getting started guide, but I want to add some different content for, let's say, module 1. So I will just put in some content in here like that. And now I will go and set a condition on this first one so that it's specific to the getting started PDF, and right click on that structure bar and set condition for module 1. And then for my other PDFs, I would add another, a unique paragraph if the text is different, and I would set the conditions on those as well. Save that. So soon, when we get to the point where we generate some output for this, we're going to see that kick in. Okay, so we're done with the conditions and we can move on. The last thing we're really going to look at is creating new targets and editing them slightly, and then just build output. So let's go into our project organizer and let's go look down at our targets. So getting started PDF, online, and then that test one. So the first thing that I'm going to do when I add new outputs, when I want new outputs and I've added these conditions, I want to update the conditions. That's probably the one thing that you'll do the most in these targets. Otherwise, your settings are just kind of there, and it's not common for you to have to go in and keep messing with them. I want to make updates first in this target because we're going to make a copy of that, but I might as well get some settings in place first. So I open up my conditional text tab. Here are my new PDFs that I've got in here. So getting started PDF, I want to definitely include that. These three, I can do a bulk select and exclude those. Okay, and save. That's all we're going to do on that one. You also probably would want to go into your online target or whatever other targets and do the same thing. You don't want content that's tagged with these PDFs in there. I'm going to just leave that for now. But what we want to do now is create targets for these other PDFs. So I'm just going to start out by making a copy of the Getting Started PDF. And you can guess, I'm going to name these Module 1, Module 2, and Module 3. So do that one first. Make a copy. Module 2. Finally, Module 3. So this is going to save us time because those settings that we added in earlier videos, we just don't have to do them because you kind of want your PDFs, at least most of it, we don't have to redo because you just want the same stuff. Let's open up the Module 1 target and take a look at what we would want to change in here, though. So in the General tab, we want to make sure that we point to the right TOC, so Module 1. And then if you did specify your output file, you would want to update that. But here we're using the default. So it's just going to use the name of the target file, Module 1, and I'm good with that. So I'll leave that. Conditional text tab. All we need to do is switch these around. Getting started, we want to exclude. Module 1, we want to include. Okay, so you're going to be doing the same things for the Module 2 and Module 3 targets. You would just make sure the right one is included and the others are excluded. Next thing is variables. This is a great one where we're going to really get some use out of this. So let's look down here. So a lot of this stuff we want to be the same. Remember, it's getting this from our regular variable set in here. And getting started is like, that's the king, queen, PDF. And so the settings in here pertain to this, the getting started PDF. But now we want to override these, and we have those bullets on the title page. We want to change those. So I'm just going to enter some weird text in here, Module 1 blah, and Module 1, let's see, in here for the bullet 2, just so that we know that these are unique for Module 1. Of course, you probably wouldn't be typing a lot of blah, 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 hopefully in your real content, but that is overriding what was being used for the Getting Started PDF. Come down to the PDF title. Yeah, we want a unique one for that. So Module 1. This stuff is the same. And just to show it's different, let's say that Module 1 is on version, well, let's make it 2.5, okay? Just so that it's different from the 1.0 of the Getting Started guide. And that's it. The rest of the stuff is going to be the same. And now let's go to our PDF options, and we'll change this metadata in here to the title to Module 1. That's really all we want to do. These other settings like TOC or these options, collapse bookmarks, and these, we want them to be the same. On our advanced tab, we're still going to use the print medium, and we wanted to use TOC depth. So we saved time by making a copy of this thing. Now let's just go ahead and build and look at Module 1 output. So as we look at the title page, we can see it's version 2.5. Got that from our variable override. Coming down here, the title's changed. Now it's module 1. The bullet text is changed. We got all of our blah, blah, blah. We had updated the snippet. So now we get this product description text for module 1. And we just kind of come down now. Of course, the content is pretty much the same as the other PDF. We did that to save time, but we did leave out the appendix and the index, so they're not in here. And now our generated TOC isn't as long, so our first chapter starts over here. But otherwise, the rest is the same. So it was that quick and easy to just swap out these pieces and reuse all of our foundational pieces to generate a new PDF. So whenever I need to create new PDFs, new targets and outputs, that's how I do it. And when I generate the output, I'll pay special attention to the content that's especially new, make sure everything works. I will look at the warnings column in the builds window pane, make sure that that's 0. But a lot of my PDFs are just kind of established, and from release to release, not a lot of the content changes. There might be some minor things and it shifts things. So here's what I actually do. I'll work on 2, 3, maybe even 4 PDFs at the same time. And I'll generate them, and I'll have a notebook on the side, a column for each PDF I'm going through, and I'll look at that PDF. And unless it's, really new content in there, much of what I'm looking for is I'm looking at the pages. If they look okay, if there's anything really odd, resizing images and page breaks, that's why I went over that stuff. And I'll get down to a certain number of pages and write what page I left off on. And then I'll go look at another one, regenerate. Meanwhile, that one's regenerating because some of these PDFs take a while to generate. So I'm just kind of going from PDF to PDF, working on them kind of at the same time. I go through that until I'm done. That is sort of how I do it. Okay, so we did it. That was it. Went from PDF creation from the beginning to the very end. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next time.